Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to tell you about how you can buy cryptocurrency without KYC. Now, one of the drawbacks from using a centralized exchange like Binance or Bybit or whatever is that they're completely beholden to the financial regulations of the countries they wish to deal with, which are pretty stringent. They understandably, the countries that is want to reduce, money laundering and other criminal activities. And in order for exchanges to be able to deal in their country, they're forced to make all their users abide by certain terms and conditions. And one of the number one terms and conditions for using their platforms is to provide a verification of your identity. Now, the problem with this is that it essentially denatures the purpose of cryptocurrency, because if whoever, it's not necessarily, this is not necessarily an anti-government video or anything like that, but if anybody knows that, you are purchasing cryptocurrency, well, that is essentially de-anonymizing. It's denaturing the purpose of cryptocurrency, which is that it is anonymous. So it's one thing for the exchange, which is a third-party institution. It's one thing for them to know that you are dealing in cryptocurrency, but if they then ask you for your name, your address, and then you have to verify that with a document such as your passport and ID, well, now they know that you, John Smith, are purchasing cryptocurrency, and then they're also forced to provide that information to governments and different agencies if they are forced to, and you don't know who exactly it is that has that information. If that's something you want to keep to yourself, then spot exchanges are not necessarily the way to go. So the alternative is to use something called a P2P cryptocurrency exchange. Now, a P2P cryptocurrency exchange functions in a similar way to an e-commerce website. So think about eBay or Etsy. Anybody can sell anything they want, provided that there is a willing person that is wanting to buy. And the upside of this is that you can essentially create your own terms and conditions. So on a normal centralized exchange, you've only got one method of buying cryptocurrency. You essentially do a bank transfer from your account to the centralized service provider's account, right? That's the only way of doing it. But on a P2P cryptocurrency platform, these sellers can provide all kinds of payment methods they can accept that wouldn't be afforded on regular centralized exchanges. So there are hundreds of different payment methods out there: TransferWise, Revolut, whatever, right? Payment in cash, that's something you can explore when you're dealing with these P2P payment platforms. So what's awesome is that as long as you find a payment method that you can actually deal in, which is very specific to the country that you live in, whatever situation you have, then you can deal with these sellers. And most of them, the majority of them, don't require KYC. The only ones that require KYC are going to be bank transfer methods. So think about like your local banks, or if in Europe, SEPA. Most of these will require KYCs for reasons I won't go into in this video. It's a bit of a long explanation, but if you think about like these fintech platforms, remittance services, other payment platforms, everything from PayPal to Revolut, TransferWise, Payoneer, as long as you're doing like a direct payment, right, from your payment platform to their payment platform, no KYC is necessary. So I want to give an example of what I'm talking about here. So I've selected TransferWise as the payment method of choice here. The reason why I use TransferWise, the reason why I recommend it a lot, is just because it's the most straightforward. So how it works is that you're going to have to fund your TransferWise account. So you'll send funds from your bank account to TransferWise, and then once it's on there, then you do something called a wise-to-wise transfer with the seller. And that basically means you're sending funds from your Wise account to his account, and that has the benefit of being instantaneous. There's no fees. The seller doesn't have to worry about some kind of chargeback risk, which is something that a lot of sellers are concerned about, especially if they deal with banks, because banks, there's always a risk of there being a chargeback. And that's one reason why these sellers require KYC, because they want to make sure that if you're going to do a chargeback on them, they can go to their bank and say, hey, look, I've got proof that this person bought cryptocurrency from me. And that's, so TransferWise is the best for that, and the wise to wise thing I just described applies to all these other different payment platforms as well. So if you're going to deal on Revolut, it's really common to see Revolut to Revolut. That means you've got funds in your Revolut account, and you're going to send funds directly from your Revolut account to the seller's Revolut account, or say Payoneer to Payoneer, PayPal to PayPal, etc. The reason why this is important to mention as well is because a lot of these payment platforms have a way for you to pay for things using your bank account, but you're using that payment platform as a conduit, right? So maybe I've got $0 on my TransferWise account. I can use my bank account to send funds to somebody else using my Wise account, but you don't get the benefit of a Wise-to-Wise transfer. So that would mean that whole process might take 3 to 5 days to complete, like a normal bank transfer. You've also got chargeback risk if you're a seller. And because you're dealing with banks, the sellers are likely to ask for KYC, which is what I'm assuming you're trying to avoid. So Wise-to-Wise is my number one recommendation. You've got Payoneer as well, Skrill, Revolut. You've got so many different kinds of payment methods. But just to show you real quick, if you're interested in using TransferWise specifically, which is my number one recommendation, you can check out on my YouTube channel. I've got another video about how to buy cryptocurrency with TransferWise without KYC. So you can go to my channel, you can subscribe and check out this video. It's very instructional and it's got a demonstration that you can use as well. There's also Revolut as well. Revolut, I would say, is a little more fiddly. It's not as instant because many of them don't do Revolut to Revolut. Some will have Revolut to their bank. So you've got funds on Revolut, and then a seller will then say, hey, can you send those Revolut funds to my bank account in XYZ country? And that takes around 3 hours to do. And it's a little bit fiddly, but it gets the job done. As you won't ask for any KYC. Payoneer is much easier as well. I think Payoneer is a good option for those of you that are doing e-commerce. I know that Payoneer is really good for people that are in e-commerce because a lot of them use it to accept funds and stuff like that. So you can do a Payoneer to Payoneer transfer, which is really good. And another one that I want to recommend besides local coin swap is using hodlhodl.com. So the reason why hodlhodl.com is so awesome is that it's what's called a non-custodial exchange. Now, non-custodial means that no one's funds, that is the seller or the buyer, actually has their funds stored on the exchange itself. So if you're worried about an FTX type situation happening, or another kind of situation like Mt. Gox, if the exchange goes down, no one's funds are at risk because the seller is essentially sending funds directly to your Bitcoin wallet of choice. And by the way, this is just a Bitcoin only exchange, right? So you'll go retrieve your cold storage Bitcoin wallet, or an exchange wallet, whatever it is you want to use, your Phantom wallet, whatever, and you can have that as your receiving address, and the seller will send those funds directly to you. And like local coin swap, you've got all the different payment methods here. You've got TransferWise, Payoneer, etc. You've got all kinds of different ones. The only one you can't really use to the same degree are bank transfers, which is what I mentioned before. And if you're interested in getting a bit further detailed instructions on how to specifically use hodlhodl.com, you can go to my channel, make sure to subscribe, and you can check out my video on how to use it. I've got an instructional demo that you can use. And I also, just before I sign off on this, I want to give a nice little example as well. You can also buy cryptocurrency without KYC on this P2P exchange using Alipay. Now, most of my audience is not in China, so this is not, it won't feel very relevant to you. But the reason why I mention this is because, I actually learned how to do P2P trading when I was living in China, and Alipay is the number one payment method for that. And the reason why I want to mention that is because that, China has had a very rocky relationship with cryptocurrency. However, that hasn't stopped it from being having the second largest trading volume in the world. And that's because the majority of the transfers are done through OTC or P2P. So people are just dealing directly with each other. And as long as they're avoiding these large centralized institutions like Binance and whatever, they're essentially able to skirt around whatever regulations their country has. So if even in China, which has the most ability to be able to shut anything down they want, if even they have a problem being able to crack down on peer-to-peer trading, then I'm basically using this to illustrate a point that if China can't do it, then no country in the world can totally crack down on peer-to-peer trading. So take that for what you will. If you want to use my referral link in the description down below, it does a lot to help keep this channel going. You can also get a discount on trading fees as well. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.